All right, people, you know the deal. Travis, Submissions and Slashers, episode number 46. We are back, and we finally, yes, finally, got a quick little review for you on Godzilla Minus One. Yes, got a chance to check out the film. We'll be talking about that and a couple other things here on episode number 46. But let's jump right in, giving you guys the details on what you need to know, which is to follow us at all of our lovely platforms. You can find that at HMUNCUT. Add the .com to that, and that's where you'll find Horror Movies Uncut, the home website, the illustrious website, where you'll get all those daily news, updates, interviews, and so much more from the independent genre fan base, right? All right, so episode number 46, what's on the docket for today? Like we said, we finally have a review of Godzilla Minus One that we're going to be talking about with you guys here on the episode. Other than that, holiday horror films that are under the radar. We got an action film for you, a lovely, spicy action film that I'm so excited to also chat with you guys about. Weird news of last week that is dealing with some Russian things, which is kind of strange to think about since they are in a war right now. But we're going to tell you this little funky story going into LAX that involved a Russian gentleman. That's going to be on today's episode. Of course, we got some new updates on some new stories. Finally, got kind of boring for a while here around the horror world. Civil War is here, which is a new Alex Garland movie that's going to be coming out on A24. And we got a little bit of news and updates about the She-Conan film, a trailer reaction for Shudder's Destroy All Neighbors. And then we'll be talking about the action thriller To See, give some little indie film shout outs from Below the Grave like we always do, wrapping it up, telling you what in the hell is streaming next week. Don't you go anywhere. Come in real quick, about a 30-minute episode, folks. Episode number 46, Submissions and Slashers. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you hit follow, like, and subscribe at all the platforms, including Spotify and YouTube and everywhere else you get your popcorn or podcasts from. Be right back. Folks, welcome back. Go anywhere. Submissions and Slashers, episode number 46. The big action film that we were talking about a few weeks ago that we wanted to make sure you guys were going to check out is the one, the only Godzilla Minus One. First and foremost, a client of mine brought up something when I was talking about the film in the gym the other day, and she distinctly said, why do they keep making these Godzilla movies? And honestly, outside of the fact that the dude can regenerate, what I try to tell people is Godzilla is actually a event film. So similar to any type of, cataclysmic, apocalyptic thriller, invasion film, zombie takeover film, even shows like your Walking Dead and stuff like that. The reason why these shows have so much length and so many layers is because there's always going to be someone dealing with this event differently than the people we're seeing in this particular story. So I was super excited because I love Godzilla, special place in my heart. The original Toho company is making this one. It is a remake of the original 1956, but it is done in such a different way, showing such a different story where while the idea kind of ends up being the same of what the overall goal is, this is really more of a period piece post Hiroshima, really talking about the trials and tribulations that the Japanese people were going through after we dropped that bomb on them. And we mix in the one, the only Gojira into the mix. And it just really becomes this fascinating, amazing, big time movie feel that I feel like anyone would enjoy from start to finish. I personally have never really been a war fan, but I feel like if you are, you would really get a kick out of the period piece styling of the film because it is set back during that time period. For those of us who are the true honks and the true lovers of Godzilla, it is so hard to deny how great he looks in the film. Um, One of the downfalls of this kaiju, soon to be classic, is if you've ever seen Godzilla 2000, there's a couple things in that that I feel are too duplicated in this. So that's why we gave it a 4.5 out of 5. But the main thing that I really keep addressing to people is this is not a Godzilla movie, man. Like, this is a movie about the Japanese people really dealing with the aftermath of Hiroshima and the interactions that you see, how they deal with each other and how they deal with this new threat freshly off of the war. It's pretty compelling. So I really tell everyone that I know is a fan or that might even kind of enjoy, you got to go see the new Godzilla movie, man. It's great. It is Japanese subtitles, fantastic cast. Everyone does an amazing job. It's just solid from start to finish. Um, for me personally, like I said, the only lull was there's some things that they do in the film that are very reminiscent of the Godzilla 2000 film that was made in 1999 by the same company that I was like, I didn't like those gimmicks then, and I don't like it here in 2023, about to be 2024. But I'm so glad we got a chance to finally see it. If you guys have not seen this, I know right now you are all holiday movie, killing it, getting after it. But when it is Christmas, if you are thinking about going and seeing some type of big film in the theaters, Godzilla's that film to go see. Okay? Godzilla Minus One, 4.5 is what we give it here on Sub and Slash. Definitely go check it out, folks. So that's going to be our review for that. We're going to hop on out, come back in, give you guys a couple updates on some other things going on, including our holiday horror film to watch that's kind of under the radar that you might not know about. So don't go anywhere so you find out what that is right when we come back here at Submissions and Slashers, episode number 46. All right, we'll people, right back. Welcome back to Submissions and Slashers, episode number 46. I will say that I'm happy to report I have found a microphone that I believe I'm going to start using for the podcast, even though I am the guy that kind of never needs a microphone. I've been able to do live concerts in front of people, hundreds of people, without a microphone or a microphone going out and still be clear enough to hear them. The crazy thing that's happened to me one time in my life is I was teaching a group fitness class one time, and there was a young lady that had a heart, she was partially deaf, and she could actually understand me clear because of the bass and my voice. So it's a blessing to have this type of a voice, but I still want to grab a microphone so I can do a little bit more clear uh, lyrical work on these podcasts for you. So, all right, moving on, episode number 46, action, martial arts, Chuck Norris, Christmas. Bringing this all together, folks, if you know what I'm talking about a holiday horror film that's actually a holiday action film. Think of this more as a holiday genre film that is starring Chuck Norris, starring Richard Lynch, Invasion USA. Insane, okay? Invasion USA is a movie that if you were to sit someone down and watch the first 30 minutes, they'd be like, what are we doing here? Why are we watching this crazy old school movie? But first and foremost, Canon Films put this movie out in 85. Canon Films is kind of like an uncle to me. You know what I mean? Raised me. on so much stuff in regards to genre films, from action to horror to sci-fi films. You've probably seen Invasion USA. You probably don't remember it. And the main reason why, there's no way in hell you're thinking it's a holiday film. And big shout out to the gentleman on and I know I should have looked up. I had time to look up the guy's article that I read that was given this list on here. The thing that's great about this movie is, so you got these like foreign guerrilla guys that are just deciding to do this takeover in like Miami, pretty much like Florida, down in the Everglades someplace. And so what they do is they constantly disguise themselves as like city officials and government authority like Coast Guard and stuff like that, and then they just kill everybody that's in the area. Chuck Norris is this like secret CIA agent guy that's supposed to be retired, and they're like, "No, man, you got to come back because we need you to fight these guys." And like I said, the first half of the film, you're like, this has nothing to do with Christmas whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, Invasion USA is throwing up Christmas at you. There are scenes in a mall with shootouts during Christmas shopping. There is probably one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a action film, outside of like the entire first Raid movie, where Richard Lynch and his crew have bazookas and they are shooting these houses in this neighborhood for like no reason. And all these houses are decorated with like all these great holiday decorations. It's it's off the chain, man. I love every single moment of this movie, and it was such a joy to go back and watch it. Makes no sense of why it's happening, but this invasion is happening during the holiday season, and that's one of the things that will get you really, really enjoying the fact that Invasion USA is one of those movies that you're not probably thinking about, that you should be watching this holiday season. No Lethal Weapon, no Die Hard, get off the Gremlins. You want an action film that you probably have not watched in a long time, or maybe you've never seen? Look up your boy Chuck Norris. Look up the Fam Cannon Films, Invasion USA, 1985, Joseph Zito. All right, so we'll be right back. We're going to jump into some weird news from last week and then continue on with episode number 46. Real quick episode, submissions and slashers. Don't go anywhere. All right, people. Submissions and Slashers, episode number 46. You know what time it is. Your host, Travis, from the illustrious family known as Horror Movies Uncut. It is time for some weird news from last week. This just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the episode, there is a story that actually started back in November where a Russian gentleman flew from Denmark to LA without a ticket and without a passport. So, of course, he's got criminal charges that are going to be coming up. He had his first hearing December 5th, so that's why the story's kind of popped back up. And he pled non-guilty, and now the day after Christmas on the 26th, he'll have his actual trial. The crazy thing about this is, as this story's developed, they've been able to talk to passengers, crew, and you're just finding out all these crazy things about this. But what really hits home is, how did this guy get to America in the first place? Okay, so once again, Russian gentleman by the name of Sergei Okigava, and Sergei flew from Denmark to LAX without a passport, without a ticket, and supposedly on the plane was talking to people, switching seats, bothering the staff, even eating varieties of meals, 2 full meals, and then snacks that he wasn't supposed to have, getting more snacks, going after chocolates and stuff like that he wasn't supposed to have, which I'm assuming alerted to who is this gentleman? Can we see your ticket? Can we see your itinerary type of thing? Only to find out he has none of this. Now, I'm under the impression, I've never been to Denmark, but I thought it would have been a little bit harder to fly without your passport. He's claiming he possibly left it at the airport there or home. He's also claiming to be a teacher, professor, scientist, engineer. There's a lot of stuff going on with this that just seems like this gentleman possibly has some mental health issues. He had an Israeli identification card with him. Lots of weird, crazy stuff going on, to the point where I'm very interested in figuring out what happens with Sergey a little later down the line. So we might be keeping an eye on this one, folks. The trial, once again, is set for the 26th. The Scandinavian Airlines, I'm sure they are answering a lot of questions right now, because how in the hell did this guy get on this plane in the first place, make it all the way to LA, and just seem to be having the time of his life on this airplane while he was there? This is crazy. Hopefully nothing seriously happens out of this, so it doesn't turn into a Netflix movie on some terrorist type shit, if you know what I mean. But for right now, it's just one of them weird ass news stories that's coming out from last week. So we'll keep an eye on Sergey and see what's going on from there. Okay, some other news. Going back into the movie world, there is this amazing genre film coming from Alex Garland called Civil War that just posted their trailer from A24 this week. We posted it on HMU for you guys to see. It is a very provocative looking film. We expect nothing but provocative stuff when it comes to Alex, if you saw Men or Ex Machina. And this film, it's really, really reminds me a lot of DMZ, the comic that was also turned into a little small miniseries on HBO Max, where you're finding the division in America finally coming to its peak. And militia groups and coalitions start forming all over the place to create a divide, where you have the original United States, you have this Florida alliance, and then you have this like California, Texas territory group. Holy shit, man. The reason why this stuff becomes so scary, because it is actually the realest type of things you can watch. With a guy like Alex Garland making the film, I'll be curious to see how deep they get into the behind the scenes, the initiating of this whole process. Kristen Dunst is in the film. Durst or Dunst. I always say her name wrong. It's going to be really one of the films to check out as we go into 2024. And we have all the info and the new trailer up on hmuncut.com right now for you to go check out. Okay. She-Conan is another one of the news burps that popped out this week. She-Conan was one of those genre films that premiered at a lot of the festival circuits this year. It was playing at Fantastic Fest when we were down there this year. I got a chance to see a little bit of it. It was one of those films I was watching like back at my Airbnb while I was working on other stuff. It is a 35 millimeter barbarian classic, queer classic, gore, insane, surreal, love, biting, romantic story. There's so many layers that are involved in She-Conan. We posted an article yesterday about the screenings that are going to be coming up here in the next few weeks and how you can attend them. If you have an Alamo in your neighborhood, more than likely it's going to be playing at that theater. Definitely something you guys want to check out. Okay. Before we end this segment, we are going to do a little trailer reaction for the film Destroy All Neighbors.
Hey, how's that
that's going to be coming to Shudder.
It's mainly me these days.
Destroy All Neighbors is about
I just want to finish my
rock
album.
William
You
Brown,
have been trying to
who's
finish
played
this album
by
for
Mystery
3
Science
years.
Theater 3000, Jonah Ray.
What is
And,
this? It's a progressive
yeah,
form of
he's
prog. I've been
working
calling
on
it
his kinda
prog
like
squared.
The only way I listen to your
music is
everything
if
he's
you
doing by
tie me
himself.
up at gunpoint and you
And then he has this
forced
weird,
me
crazy
to.
neighbor that moves in. So we're
Damn it,
watching
don't play
this
it here,
trailer
man. You're
together. said,
going
this
on?
will be coming to
Maybe
Shudder.
we have a new neighbor.
You can get Shudder on AMC Plus.
What is up with this guy?
If you don't have AMC Plus, man, you are missing out
I
on
think
a
we're
lot
living
of
next to some kind of maniac.
I am now leaving your head.
This is very big.
Flash is just driving me
Mandy
crazy.
meets
You're headed
evil
into chaos.
What?
dead vibes going on right here.
You gotta stand on your own 2 feet and say, get out of my kitchen, because I'm cooking!
William, use your demons. Don't let them
Oh,
use
straight.
you.
Possibly some practical effect work going on in
Just
here, a
need
lot
to
of it,
know
which is
how
great.
to get rid of a body.
Hello, Willie.
I'm not a mass murderer. I'm a mass manslaughterer.
It's time
Yeah,
to make
this
a
is
hit record.
definitely on some Evil Dead meets like Deathgasm.
Shut up!
You didn't hear that, did you?
You yelling shut up at nobody? Yeah, I heard it was very loud.
Thomas Lennon's in this. Reno 911.
You're a loser and you're gonna die a loser.
Now that was rock and roll.
Stop. Just pick or anyone else.
It's got an audience. Destroy all neighbors. Okay, so yeah, that'll be hitting Shudder. That'll be our first Shudder reaction of a trailer. We'll try to do a couple more of those coming up here in the near future as they're sent to us. Look for us to pop something up about that on the actual website later today. But for right now, go ahead and pump your brakes. Quick little break. We'll be right back to wrap up the show. Talk about what the hell is streaming next week. Give a little indie film shout out for The Grave. And also make sure you guys know what big time action film to keep an eye out for. Conclusion of episode number 46, Submissions and Slashers. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hit all those likes, follows, subscribe, Spotify, YouTubes, all those places. We love y'all. Give us money, though. All right, people, welcome back to Submissions and Slashers, episode number 46. We are here to talk about one of the big action films that I feel like you want to make sure you're seeing that's coming out this week, and it's really possibly one of my favorite films of the year, and it's a South Korean film called Concrete Utopia. Now, the crazy thing about this film is this was kind of like their entry into the Oscars for their super huge budgeted film. So if this was a film that was in America, this would be kind of like an Oppenheimer size of a film that was being made. The film involves kind of what you see in South Korea with the lottery for apartments. And if you're not familiar with that, what that is, you know, you're not just kind of like entitled to have an apartment. There's like this lottery that you have to qualify for. And then there's a whole process on what building you're going to move into. So it's a huge ordeal and it's very important to these people. And for most of them, the overall goal is to be able to buy their apartment kind of like a condo and then sell that off to somebody else or make sure they have it for the next generation of their family so that they don't have to go through that whole ordeal. That's kind of how I got it. Do not quote me on any of that stuff. I might have some Korean people like, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, but that's kind of what I got from the film. Okay. I saw this at Fantastic Fest. I loved the movie. It's showing what happens when you think the world is being designed and built exactly the way that it should, and then this huge cataclysmic event, not Godzilla, happens. A big earthquake is what happens in Concrete Utopia. And then when the earthquake comes, there's only one building left, and all these people in this area try to flee to this one standing building. Then it becomes, can people work together? Can people live together as resources and things start to go away? Come on, man. You know the deal. Lord of the Flies, everything you've seen, Yellow Jackets, right? It becomes survival, right? But man, the tale is so great. The stories that you're following of all the different characters, and then the main characters that you're following, what's going on with them. One of them is a retired district police guy. Another one is a father who maybe have abandoned his kids. It's a lot going on, but tons of amazing work throughout in the film, and it has a lot of big time moments that make you feel like you're watching a super huge movie, which Concrete Utopia definitely was. Will it be an Oscar winner? Don't think so. I would hate to say, I don't know why it wouldn't be, but I just, from what I see with the Oscars, I don't think it would be. But for sure, it's a fucking fantastic movie that you should check out, really. So, Concrete Utopia is definitely the big time action film you should be looking for. There is a little psycho metaphysical sci-fi thriller that seems to be making a lot of noise recently. And whenever things pop up in front of me for multiple times, it always makes me feel like it's a little bit bigger than it is. Cranked Up is doing a great job of grabbing titles of films and doing a fantastic job with distribution. One of the films that they're doing is this film called Reflect. And it's this sci-fi thriller about these women that are like, especially one in particular, who's like trying to move on in a divorce, almost on some Neil Marshall, the girls in the cave. I don't know why. I love that movie too. I even like the second one. Well, anyway, the film involves this woman and her friends, and they're going on one of those like kind of mushroom, possibly peyote, ayahuasca type journeys in the middle of the desert, and they're looking for some type of growth and enlightenment, and it then becomes some hellish type of a trip that they can't seem to escape from. And it's going to be on demand January 9th. We posted a couple things about it a few days ago. It's directed by Dana Kipple, and Dana Kipple also stars in the film. And it's just a film that seems to be getting a lot of good press and a lot of good reviews. So we wanted to make sure we gave it a little shout out from the grave, so that if you guys see it come past on any of your on-demand outlets, you might want to give it a view. Okay? We'll try to watch it and give you guys a review for it as well. Okay. Now, what the hell is streaming next week?
Cool. Hell, it must be 100 degrees in this friggin' tiger cage.
Hello? How do you do?
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
So we got things on DVD and we got things on VOD. For those of you who are still using DVD players, if you did not watch or you want a collector's version possibly of the Paramount Plus exclusive film Exorcist oh no, not Exorcist. I was thinking Pet Sematary Bloodlines. Let me rewind that. If you had been on Peacock and you've been watching Exorcist Believer and now you want your own version of it, that is going to be available for you on DVD on Tuesday, December 19th. Onyx the Fortuitous and The Talisman of Souls is a film that was playing in so many festival circuits. It's out the wazoo. That's going to be finally available for people on Blu-ray Tuesday, December 19th. Pet Sematary Bloodlines is going to be on DVD also on Tuesday, the 19th, and that's for those people. The Ghost Station film, I'm very, very excited to see. That's going to be on VOD and DVD on Tuesday. Mirror Me is going to be making its way on Tubi, and that's going to be on the 19th. Satanic Hispanics, I got a hat over there on my shoe boxes. There it is, right there. On my shoe boxes. That's going to be on DVD coming up December 19th. And then the last thing that I'm sure you guys are all going to be super happy for on your VOD outlets for purchase, to rent. So think the Voodoos, the Amazon Primes, and the Apple Plus. Eli Ross Thanksgiving is going to be available. So that is what's going to be streaming and showing for your home entertainment pleasure next week, folks. Okay, that's going to do it for episode number 46, Submissions and Slashers. Before we get out of here next week, We're going to have our holiday genre film that you may not know of, a little bit of under the radar film number 3. We've been watching so many. I'm about to go watch some here shortly so I can try to figure out what's going to be the best one for the next episode. We're going to have a review for that film Ghost Station that I just mentioned in the Hell is Streaming next week. Then we'll also have more news, reviews, and updates as we roll into 2024 coming up, people. Last week, we will be kicking off our Best of the Year show. For those of you familiar with Horror Movies Uncut, we call it the possible best and possibly the worst films of the year. Don't miss it. Make sure you hit all those subscribe buttons so you don't. Submissions and Slashers, Horror Movies Uncut at HMUNCUT. We will catch you on the next one, folks. We appreciate you. We are out. We are gone.